each waste stream, the page is set up in a similar way. There's a definition, PPE, and then kind of additional information about containers and that kind of thing. So with regulated medical waste, what goes into these red bags is the items that are contaminated by blood, bodily fluids, or other potentially infectious materials in amounts that are drippable, pourable, squeezable, or flakable. One thing that gets put in red bags that very rarely needs to go in there would be PPE. Gowns, gloves, booties, masks, that's probably the bulk of what we're actually putting in red bags right now. So unless they're grossly saturated with blood or that kind of thing, they really don't need to go into a red bag. And this is a little bit more for environmental services than you guys, but red bags do need to be tied in a particular way. They need to be tied like this with a single knot. There's directions on how to do that. And the reason behind that is it's a DOT requirement. So when Stericycle comes to the hospital to pick up our waste, and let's say they're in an accident on the highway and their truck tips over, the DOT says that if these bags roll over with the truck, that nothing can leak out of them for 10 minutes if they tip upside down or anything like that. And so the only way to do that is to tie the bags using a single knot, because that way if you flip it upside down, nothing will come out the bottom. If you kind of do it, tie it with like the little bunny ears or that kind of thing, liquid will seep out of the bottom. So, another common thing that gets put in red bags would be linen. A lot of our linen goes missing because there's an assumption that if it has blood or is grossly soiled with anything, that it should just go into a red bag, and it shouldn't. Please put it in a blue bag so that it can get laundered. We own all of our linen as a hospital. We don't rent it, so it's really, really, really expensive for all of our linen to get thrown out. And the commercial laundry process can get out a lot of heavy soil and stains and that kind of thing. And after the laundering process, if there are stains or rips or tears, it'll get taken out of service and we purchase new. But we don't want to assume that it can't be cleaned. So please put soiled linen in a blue linen bag. And all the blue linen bags are handled as if they are infectious or have sharps or that kind of thing. So,
do you want to comment on pillows?
Yes, pillows are a little bit of an exception. You guys kind of manage your own stock of pillows. It's not something that EVS provides, but if those are grossly soiled, they should be tossed out. If they go in a blue bag, we won't get them back. Another thing, and that's not in this section, but specifically for COVID areas, COVID waste isn't treated any differently than any other waste in the hospital, whether it's isolation or non-isolation. It doesn't all go into a red bag. You should segregate it just as you would in any other area. And coming soon, we'll actually start having a commingled recycling program. You might see some recycling containers out in random places right now. Some of them are blue, some are gray, but we actually don't recycle as a hospital, which is not good. And it's something that we definitely should be doing. So over the next month or two, you'll start seeing these little green containers, and they'll have green bags, and we'll put little posters explaining what commingled recycling is and that kind of thing. Which commingled recycling is unbroken glass, aluminum, steel, tin, non-confidential paper. I think that's it. But they can all go into the same container, and then they get recycled. The only bad thing is that if any non-recyclable items are put in there, then the whole container is considered contaminated and it all gets treated as trash. So you can have a little container like that that's filled with cans and bottles and ready to be recycled, and if someone throws a sandwich in there, it's all treated as trash. So that's why these green containers are going to be pretty small. They're maybe, this tall, that wide. So we can hopefully not contaminate it and recycle as much as possible. And we'll start rolling out in break rooms and see how that goes. And if it's successful, then we can kind of expand it out to other areas.
Curtis, can you comment about how much red bag waste we accumulate versus?
Yeah, so each month Natividad produces about 1,500 55-gallon barrels of red bag waste, which is an astronomical amount. That's what a 1,000-bed hospital would produce. So
how much does that cost?
a lot. It's extremely expensive. And part of that is we don't always have the right containers in the right places. There were some places like in the ICU where they didn't have just regular trash cans in the patient rooms. All they had were red bags. So it's really going through every single room in the hospital, making sure that we have the right containers in the right places and that people know what should go in the right container. So definitely a goal over the next year to reduce the volume of red bag waste.
And by the way,
we actually have to pay a penalty because we produce so much. The Stericycle says based on the number of beds and the number of ORs, the number of cases and our census and all that kind of stuff, we should be producing X number of pounds, and we're just so far over that. They're like, well, you guys can't control it, so we're going to charge you a premium. So we pay a lot. It all goes back to just having the right containers, right places, and the education to go with it. So.
and educating the doctors by simply bringing the bin up to them, and so they don't know. They pull all their stuff out, they put it to the nearest thing, red bag, clear. They don't know. So we can help the doctors by teaching them and making it convenient for them.
Another thing, and this is a new thing not very many people know about, but pathology waste. In the state of California, anything that has solidifier added to it, so if you have like a suction canister and you put solidifier in it, that whole canister is considered pathology waste because California says that it has to be incinerated. So our regulated medical waste, the regular red bags, there's an assumption that these are incinerated, but they're not. They go to Utah, they're microwaved, and then they go into a landfill. But the pathology waste, which I use as a red bag too, it is actually incinerated. So anytime you see one of these red containers, you'll also have a red bag, but this is specifically for pathology waste, which we don't have a lot of, but it is out there. And an alternative to using solidifier would be taking the suction canister or other item, putting it in a small red bag, tying it with a single knot, then putting it in another small red bag and tying it in another single knot, and then you can put it in the larger bin.
In the larger bin? You mean in the regular weight red bag?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent an email on that yesterday. That's what we decided to do instead of having that big container around that nobody's going to find or do. So when you put the Sanasorb in, if there's blood in the container from suctioning or something, that needs to go red bag. If you're just putting Sanasorb in from secretions or something, that's just trash. You've now solidified it. Just goes.
So you've irrigated and you've gotten 300 blood, so that gets solidified. You double bag it, and then it can go into a red bag.
Yes.
Right. So this is what the shipping container looks like that all of our regulated medical waste goes out in. So before it goes into this container, it should be put into 2 little red bags, basically. Any other?
We can open up for questions now. Your specific experiences. Some groups have a lot to say.
So the green, you said you can put paper in with all the other stuff?
Non-confidential paper, yep.
Oh,
Cardboard.
They don't care that it's all mixed, obviously.
Nope.